This is Everest, rising over 29,000 feet above the earth, the cruising altitude of 747s, 5 miles high. Its summit is the highest point on earth. Reaching the summit is a feat dared by few and achieved by fewer. A daunting adventure for sure. And while certainly not as perilous or dangerous as summiting Mount Everest, benefits agencies also face a daunting adventure. That is, reinventing themselves for post-reform survival and success. If you accept that your firm must adapt to the new post-reform world, then you simply must adopt a new way of doing business, one that not only preserves your current success, but also takes advantage of the significant opportunity that is before you. My name is Nelson Griswold with the Agency Growth Mastermind Network. With my business partner and co-author Scott Cantrell, I recently released our new book, Do or Die, Reinventing Your Benefits Agency for Post-Reform Success. It's the industry's only systematic plan for reinventing a benefits agency into one that will remain profitable and relevant and have the opportunity for substantial growth in the post-healthcare reform world. In the book, I lay out a complete 4-step solution for benefit leaders to follow, and that's what I want to take a couple of minutes to tell you about. Right now, we're making a full executive briefing webcast available, personally presented to you online. This briefing goes into some detail about the 4-step solution we've developed at the Agency Growth Mastermind Network and how your firm can implement these strategies to be successful and dominate your market even after the full effect of PPACA in 2014. Having developed this information and knowing what it can do for benefits leaders, I'd suggest you view the Executive Briefing webcast as soon as possible. This is game-changing content that will reveal a plan that you can use to reform-proof your practice. To register for the webinar, go to the website on the screen, 21stcenturyagency.com/briefing. You can also go to just 21stcenturyagency.com and click on the tab at the top for briefing. So now let me share with you why we believe you need to get this information sooner rather than later. And without sounding too melodramatic, you should know, for many agencies, there may not be a later. Recently, it's just been bad news for benefits firms. The benefits industry has been plagued by doubt, fear, uncertainty, and an overall sense of paralysis. And these feelings are warranted. There's no doubt among leading industry experts and thoughtful agency leaders that there's been a structural shifting of the ground beneath benefits agencies. This seismic shift is only beginning to take its toll. With 2014 quickly approaching, agency leaders simply have no time to lose if they want to remain relevant, maintain a viable business, and ultimately emerge stronger and more profitable than previously. As Michael Main and Dan Schellenbarger of the leading healthcare management consulting firm Oliver Wyman put it, brokers who maintain traditional offerings could experience 15% to 25% losses of revenue progressively over the next 5 years. That's 15 to 25% loss of revenue. I don't have to tell you that's unsustainable. Now that 15 to 25% number should be very compelling. Here's another, 28.6. 28.6%. It's a number that represents massive agency attrition. Marshberry, the industry's leading mergers and acquisitions firm, projects that 28.6% of all benefits agencies with less than $2.5 million in annual revenues will no longer exist within several years. 28.6%. That's 2 out of 7 agencies that will be gone in the near future. Look, the smallest benefits agencies that are unwilling to adapt to the new environment and to adopt a new business model and new methods for doing business will be the first to go, either acquired or shuttered. Larger firms with a bigger book of business can likely last a little longer, but ultimately their fate will be the same as the smaller firms, if they too choose not to retool and reinvent themselves. Here's another frightening number for agency leaders. 40%. 40%. The respected business journal Crain's Detroit projects that employee benefit firms will suffer an attrition rate of 40%. 40%. The simple fact is that the benefits industry beyond January 1, 2014 will look nothing like the benefits industry did on January 1, 2010. In the coming months and over a few short years, the benefits industry will see many casualties. Over 200 lives have been lost by those climbing Mount Everest. I assure you that far more livelihoods will be lost in our industry by those who refuse to climb the mountain of agency reinvention. I put it like this in my January 2012 column in Employee Benefit Advisor magazine. I'm predicting a major shakeout for agencies, with consolidations, acquisitions, and closures expected to greatly thin the herd. The few winners in each market will be the agencies that can transform themselves to adapt to the new realities and new opportunities. These changes are real. They are happening now. They're not suddenly going to stop or vanish. The opportunity for that is long past. The question really is, are you ready? Perhaps most important, are you willing to get ready? Change is here, and bigger change is ahead, whether you accept it or not, whether you admit to yourself or not. Astute benefit brokers have admitted that, quote, benefits agencies have had it way too easy for far too long, unquote. That is a quote that I've heard almost verbatim from the mouths of several agency leaders in different parts of the country. And to quote a producer who shall remain anonymous, how can I ask my client, he said, for a $40,000 fee to replace my commission on the Aetna Medical that's just gone away? I'm not worth that much. Well, his reality is the reality that faces many benefit leaders today. This is likely the reality you face today. For most benefits agencies, the agency's selling and solutions status quo is nowhere nearly good enough if you want to stay relevant and competitive and grow post-reform. As Jack Queeson, one of the industry's top agency consultants, points out, to cope with the evolving benefits landscape, you likely have to change your marketing, sales, and client engagement approach, as well as your business model. And Jack is absolutely right. Remember, we said that most agency principals recognize that their problem is Obamacare, PPACA? Well, in fact, that's totally wrong. Healthcare reform isn't your problem. This is so important, and no one else in the industry seems to understand this. Healthcare reform isn't your problem. It's just the catalyst forcing agency leaders to change. Your problem isn't Obamacare. Your problem is your business model, a 20th century business model born in the 1960s. For your agency to survive and thrive going forward, you must act boldly and leave the status quo business model, a relic of the 60s, in the rearview mirror. Now, many agency leaders do understand they must adopt a new business model, a business model for the post-reform era, a business model for the 21st century. But what does that look like? What's your new business model architecture? Unfortunately, we've discovered that most agency leaders we've asked that question of have difficulty answering this simple question. In August of this year, Scott and I released Do or Die to the benefits industry. The book is based on the 21st century agency business model and lays out a specific and detailed 4-step plan and solution for agency reinvention. Industry thought leaders and agency leaders from across the U.S. are calling Do or Die and the 21st century agency business model a game changer. Rob Shestak, National Sales Leader for Employer Benefits with Marsh, wrote, Do or Die is an essential survival guide for the benefits agency. Chester Bullard, Senior Vice President with the Warner Companies in Baltimore, said, if you're an agency principal, read it. If you still want to be an agency principal in 1 to 2 years, read it now. The 21st century agency business model offers a bold plan for agency success that frankly flies in the face of commonly accepted beliefs. And it offers up proven, highly effective recommendations from both inside and outside of our industry. The basis for the executive briefing that you need to see is our proprietary four-step solution. This straightforward four-step process offers up key strategies supported by specific proven tactics, some of which have been transplanted from other industries while others are already producing impressive results in benefits agencies across the country. So, why would we spend our time and money making sure you see this executive briefing personally? Well, the first reason is because we believe what the late great Zig Ziglar said. If we help enough people get what they want, then we believe we'll get what we want. The other two reasons are both somewhat self-serving. Frankly, our success is dependent upon your survival and growth as an agency post-reform. We're consultants to benefits agencies. If you don't do well, we don't do well. The other reason is once you know the four-step solution, you may want to consider becoming a part of the Agency Growth Mastermind Network to make your reinvention journey easier and faster. Speaking of, if you're wondering what the Agency Growth Mastermind Network is, it's an exclusive executive peer exchange network for 10 to 15 elite agency leaders who work collaboratively using a solid, specific plan based on the book Do or Die, with personalized guidance from top industry experts and the right tools to reinvent their benefits firm as a 21st century agency in just 12 months. But again, the purpose of this video is to make sure you go through the executive briefing and discover the four-step solution that you can implement in your business to succeed even in the face of reform. Again, you can register for the executive briefing web seminar at the address on the screen. Finally, in commenting on Do or Die, the editor of the NAHU publication Health Insurance Underwriter wrote this: Nelson makes an excellent point about PPACA not being the problem. Outdated business models are the problem. You have to stay ahead of the curve. It's fun to watch Mad Men, but it's not a good idea to base your business plan on what worked in the 1960s. To paraphrase Lao Tzu, a climb of 29,000 feet to the top of Everest begins with a single step. Well, in our case, it's actually 4 steps. And I trust you'll take the first step to ensuring your benefits agency can not only survive the changes of reform, but also see substantial growth in the post-reform world. Go now to 21stcenturyagency.com/briefing and register for this executive briefing. This is Nelson Griswold, wishing you the best in your agency reinvention journey. I hope to see you at the summit.